In the days following the 2019 Christchurch mosque shootings, Farid Ahmed spoke to the public from a wheelchair. He had just lost his wife to the attacker, yet he looked into the cameras and chose to forgive the man who killed her. The weight of that choice is revealed in the context of his loss. His wife, Husna, had successfully escaped the building during the shooting. She died because she ran back toward the danger to find her husband and pull him to safety. It is difficult to reconcile such a violent loss with that level of internal peace. How does a person prevent a tragedy like this from consuming them with hatred? Farid was drawing from a deep historical reservoir of resilience. He was applying a framework of emotional management that has been analyzed and practiced for over 14 centuries. In this tradition, patience is not defined as passive resignation or the burying of emotions. It is an intentional, demanding state of mind governed by 5 specific pillars. These ancient records don't just offer moral lessons, they provide the specific mechanics for navigating the absolute edge of human endurance. Pillar 1 is beautiful patience, or Sabrun Jameel. It is illustrated by Prophet Yaqub as he grieved for his son Yusuf. These stories make it clear that prophets were not expected to be emotionless. Yaqub's grief carried a heavy physical toll. The ancient texts describe him weeping so continuously for his lost son that he eventually went completely blind. The lesson of this pillar is that true patience requires feeling the full weight of pain. The goal is to route that anguish directly to the Creator, instead of letting it curd into a social complaint or a rejection of life itself. Pillar 2 is Tawakkul, or trust through effort. This is seen in the story of Hajar, who was left in a barren desert valley with her infant son. She did not simply wait for a miracle. She ran 7 times between these jagged outcrops, Mount Safa and Mount Marwa, searching for water. This defines the core mechanic of Tawakkul. Trust in a higher plan only carries meaning if you have first exhausted your own physical and mental capacity to solve the problem. Resilience is found at that exact point where emotional honesty meets relentless physical action. Pillar 3 focuses entirely on unwavering conviction. Sumaya bint Kayat was a formerly enslaved woman from Ethiopia with no tribal protection or social standing in Meccan society. Despite enduring torture at the hands of powerful chieftains, she refused to denounce her faith. She became the first martyr in the history of the faith, holding her ground when she had no worldly reason to do so. Her story teaches that resilience is the ability to maintain your personal truth even when the world strips away every layer of your safety. Pillar 4 is the redefinition of wealth. Contrast Sumaya's poverty with Mus'ab ibn Umayr, the most pampered youth in this Meccan society, famous for wearing expensive fragrances and the finest shoes. Mus'ab abandoned his luxury for his faith. When he died in battle, the only cloth available to shroud him was so short that if it covered his head, his feet remained exposed. This shifts the definition of loss. Seeing a man trade the finest silks for a shroud of grass and a shredded cloth, it suggests that the things we lose in this life are often the currency required to gain something permanent. Pillar 5 is the choice of forgiveness. It is the culmination of the story of Prophet Yusuf, who was betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery as a child. Decades later, when Yusuf held absolute power as the ruler of Egypt, his brothers stood before him as beggars. Instead of seeking vengeance, he chose to forgive them entirely. This is the historical precedent Farid Ahmed applied in Christchurch. He followed the logic that refusing to be sickened by hate is the only way to remain in control of your own heart. In this framework, the ability to let go of rage is the final, triumphant act of a patient person. There is a famous metaphor to describe this state. The believer is not a rigid tree, but a fresh, tender plant. Life's storms will inevitably push us to the ground. This pressure is designed to bend us to our limits. But by applying these pillars, feeling grief, taking action, holding our truth, and choosing forgiveness, we don't break. We snap back to our original form. Under this architecture, suffering is not a punishment. It is the necessary process of refining the human soul. Which of these 5 pillars resonated most with the challenge you are facing right now? If this study in resilience was helpful, subscribe for more. If you know someone weathering a storm, share this video with them today.